They don't understand. Casting judgment. I just stand on loyalty. I'm keeping it 100. And that will never change. You can hate it or you love it.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tevin Jameer back at it again with another episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. As y'all can see, like I've been promising y'all, beautiful face back on the screen again. I don't know, like I said in the last episode, I've been doing my episodes kind of like that, where like it's just me talking into the mic and like it's audio only, just because sometimes I do get lazy. I ain't even gonna hold y'all. Sometimes I get lazy, and then sometimes I don't feel like doing the whole setup. But here I am, back again, doing another episode. I don't know how long this episode is about to be, because as y'all can see in the title, we will be talking, or I will just be talking about Beau Is Afraid, the new Ari Aster film, because I was sitting there thinking, like, what is a topic I could do this week? But ever since I saw Beau Is Afraid on Thursday, I have not been able to get it out of my mind. Like, even with everything going on, like yesterday, we done had a surprise birthday party for my brother, and like even during the party, like I still had things from Beau Is Afraid still in my mind. Like, that is a movie. If you've seen it, then you know, but that is a movie that I don't think anyone can easily get out of their head. So we're going to be talking about that. And before I get started, because that's pretty much all the episode is going to be about, and trust me, I have a lot to say about the movie. So, this podcast, like I said, is very this podcast is very, open conversation. So for anybody that's new listening or watching the podcast, you can always hit me on my socials. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment down below and let me know what you think of the film. I'm going to tell you all my interpretations. I'm going to tell you all the things that I've been getting from different videos and stuff that I've been watching this week. So I'm going to tell y'all my full thoughts. I'm going to tell y'all like why I'm confused and why this movie is still on my mind. Like, I'm gonna give it to y'all straight how I feel about it, and you guys can let me know what you feel, and maybe you guys can help me find an understanding, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I still don't understand. But before we really get into it, first off, sorry for this messy setup. I'm about to go, like, that's why I'm dressed like this right now. I'm about to go to the gym after I'm done recording, so I got my bag right here, the clothes that I plan on wearing today right here, and yeah, the jacket I usually wear to the gym, the hanger. But yeah, so pretty much this episode is just gonna be about Beau Is Afraid. So if you haven't watched it yet, or you just don't care to watch it, then hey, by all means listen, because I'm all about spoilers. I'm gonna get to the spoilers. So all right. Um Beau Is Afraid, and I think I'm gonna name this episode like "Bitch, I'm confused," or "No, I'm confused," or something like that. I think I'm gonna name it that, because there is a lot that I'm confused about with this movie. But I think the main thing that I'm confused about is whether I really like it like that. Like, I don't know how much I really like it. Like, I know I like it, but I just don't know to the full extent how much I like it, because usually people always say like, oh, this is the type of movie where you need to sit down and you need to watch it more than once to see how you really feel about it. Me, no, I'm not trying to make myself sound different or anything like that, but when it comes to me, like, having to watch a movie multiple times to get how I really feel about it, it's very unnecessary. Like, usually I'm someone where, like, after I see it the first time, that's how I'm always gonna feel about it. Like, when I saw Uncut Gems, and I know this is like a weird comparison, but like when I saw Uncut Gems, that movie automatically became one of my favorite movies of all time. And yeah, of course I rewatched it. Like, I showed my girlfriend at the time the movie. I showed my friends the movie, and like rewatching it only made me like confirm to myself even more that, like, yeah, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. So like typically I'm someone that knows how I feel about a movie when I first see it. Like Midsummer, perfect, because This is also Ari Aster. Midsummer. When I saw that, like, I knew I enjoyed it a lot. Like, as weird as people thought it was, I think some people walked out of the theater when I saw it. Like, as weird of a movie it is, I enjoyed it a lot, and rewatching it only made me enjoy it. Though I did get tired of rewatching it because it's like you can only see the stuff in Ari Aster's movies so many times. Like, I was showing everybody Midsummer, and it got to a point where I was like, all right, like, I'm done showing people like this weird shit. But so Beau Is Afraid, for once, is actually a movie where I think I need to rewatch it to really, like, really see how I feel about it. Because, like, off of first watch, I can say, like, off of first watch, that I mostly enjoyed it. Off of first watch, I would give this movie a 6 out of 10. Though, I'm not gonna lie, like, thinking about some of the things that happened in the movie and like trying to piece together like all the connected parts, because this is a 3 hour movie, so like there's a lot going on. And if you guys seen the movie, if you know who Ari Aster is, you know this is anything but boring. I haven't found one review where somebody said this movie was boring. Like, there's a lot going on, and the fact that it's a 3 hour movie, there's like so many working pieces to where like you got to think about how it's connected in some type of way. Like, one of the things that I didn't really put two and two together until I really started thinking about it was how there was like an animated sequence in the middle of the movie where Beau goes to this, he meets up with this group in the woods. I think they call themselves the Orphans of the Woods or something like that. He runs into this group who puts on like stage plays in the middle of the woods, and in the middle of the stage play, he starts to vision like his dream life. Like, you know, he wants to move out somewhere. He wants to build his own home. He wants to find a wife. He wants to have three sons. Like, basically, it's just an animated sequence where Joaquin Phoenix is like walking around these animated backgrounds and stuff like that. And essentially, we're looking at what Beau wants in life. But when you watch the movie for the first time, like, you're not really gonna get it. Like, to some people, I've heard some reviews where some people felt like, you know, it had nothing to do with the story, it was unnecessary. I will say that, you know, it could be cut out. I will say that. But I won't say that it's unnecessary. Or not. Okay, wait. I will say that it didn't need to be in there. Like, that was definitely just context. But I feel like it still is connected. Like, for the people that say that that scene feels very unconnected to the rest of the movie, I would say that it may feel like that at first, but like when you really think about the grand scheme of what the movie was about, then it starts to make sense that, like, okay, obviously we're going to watch, you know, what this guy really wants in life, because as the film goes on, you find out that basically his mom has controlled every aspect of his life, so much so that, like, at the end of the movie, like, she is controlled so much, and you find out that she's been recording his whole life and observing, like, you know, what she believes makes him hate her. So the fact that, you know, she observed and she recorded and she controlled so much of his life, watching that scene kind of makes you, you know, go into Beau's psyche where he wish he really could, you know, have that life where his mom doesn't control everything. And, you know, I just started completely talking about stuff like that without really saying what the plot of the movie is. So I'm sorry for going out of order. But Beau Is Afraid is about a guy named Beau, and we experience his journey when he's trying to get back home to his mom's. And that's the best explanation I can give. Well, I already went into spoilers, but yeah, basically, he gets a phone call. Well, he was already originally supposed to go see his mom, but he gets a phone call that his mom is dead. So now he takes a journey, you know, from his apartment to her house for the funeral, because, you know, her I think it's her lawyer tells her that, or tells Beau that they can't you know, lay her to rest until Beau is there. So we watch his journey, and we see him stop at various places along the way, And if you guys don't know, this is actually based on one of Ari Aster's, original short films, Beau. And I will say that the short film, I feel like, obviously because it's a short film, but I feel like the short film is a lot more simple, but a lot more, up in the air, more ambiguous than the actual film itself. Like, the short film was pretty much the same premise, that he was trying to get back home to his mom. Of course, his mom didn't die in this version, or at least I don't think she died in the short film. It's been a while since I've seen it, but the mom, I don't think, dies in the short film, but he does experience a bunch of paranoia and anxiety, and that's pretty much what the movie is kind of like. Like, Beau, I don't know, I forget if the movie explicitly says that he has anxiety, but it is heavily implied that he has anxiety and what's the other word? I forget what the other word is, but it is basically implied that, in Beau's head, like, you could be going through a normal situation, but in Beau's head, things will go like 10 times worse than you can expect it to be. Like, and one of the parts of the film, and this is why I say you should probably watch it before listening to what I have to say about it, but in one of the parts of the film, he's supposed to take his new medications that he's gotten from his therapist, and the bottle specifically says you have to take it with water. And of course, at that very moment, water in his apartment doesn't work or like the apartment complex that he lives in, the water doesn't work anymore when he has to take it. So then he has to run across the street past all these homeless people who are like, one guy is naked stabbing people, like he just going around balls out stabbing people. You got people like with guns fighting. There's like some random guy dancing. Like, it's just a bunch of homeless people just going batshit crazy in the street. So Beau has to run across the street to get to the store. He has to run past all these homeless people who are going like ape shit crazy. Then he goes into the store, gets the water, but then the clerk is like accusing him of stealing because he doesn't have his money out, and he, took the water before paying for it. So like the clerk is like accusing him of stealing, and he's very impatient, and he's threatening to call the cops on Beau. And then while Beau is at the store, all the homeless people break into his apartment, and he is forced to sleep outside of his apartment because they're just having an all-out party in only his room. So that's what I mean. Like, this movie is pretty much like, to be honest, in reality, is probably a lot more normal than what we're perceiving it as, but because we're watching the movie in Beau's perspective, like, everything is just like I said, batshit crazy. But bringing that up, that is why I'm really confused about the movie, because as we're watching the movie, we see him go through his journey. There's little hints of Beau being observed, because like I said before, his mom has low-key been recording his life, and his mom has been low-key controlling everything, in the events of the film and before the events of the film. His mom has been recording and controlling everything. And there is little hints throughout the film where like his mom owns a business, like she owns like a big company, and throughout the film you can see various items with her logo on it. And I think it's, I might be tripping, but I could have swore I saw her logo in the opening credits of the film. If that really is there, then that's actually a pretty cool touch from Ari Aster. But so yeah, like, you find out eventually that his apartment complex is owned by his mom. All the medication that he takes is, he was basically the test dummy for the medications. When he gets to his mom's house, you find out that he was basically the test dummy throughout his whole life of her medications. Um, there's this couple that he stays with for a part of the film where the wife in the couple, she tells him stop incriminating himself. She also tells him to turn on the TV and switch to channel 78, where he is currently watching like there's a camera in the corner of their house where he's currently watching that he's being filmed, and he starts to rewind, and he sees like stuff that happened to him already. He fast forwards and it ends with him in his mom's house, but of course at the time in the movie you don't know that's his mom's house, but you see it stop where he's supposed to be at his mom's house. So with everything being controlled by his mom, and then also we do know that Beau is somewhat of an unreliable narrator because we know he has anxiety. We know that he sees the world in a certain point of view. So the main reason that I'm confused by everything in this movie, or not by everything, but by a lot in this movie, is who, what is reality and what isn't. That's my main thing with this movie, because I'm not confused as far as like themes. Like obviously, this movie touches on mental health, and because of what Beau goes through, it touches on controlling parents, and like, parents that try to be in every aspect of their kids' lives, obviously with his mom controlling like where he lives. His therapist also low key works for his mom and has been playing their therapy sessions for his mom. So like, her controlling every aspect of his life, even down to his love life, because this girl that he saves himself for in the film, which also, if you've seen that sex scene, that was like one of the weirdest sex scenes I've ever seen in my life. But like, this girl Elaine that he met when he was younger, that he wanted to save himself for, when he meets up with her in the future, you find out that she was also an employee of his mom, just like the couple that he stayed with for a little bit. I don't know if the wife was part of it. She might have not been, since she was trying to warn Beau about it, but her husband was definitely an employee of Beau's mom. So it's almost like whose story is true and whose isn't. Like, because we know Beau sees the world in a certain type of way, but then also you have Beau's mom where she's controlling everything, and she does this to somewhat like argue that Beau doesn't love her, and like she's trying to like the movie ends with basically almost a trial of seeing whether Beau really loves his mom or not. And like I said, we're watching the movie in Beau's perspective, but during the trial, they're playing scenes from the movie where, of course, when we saw it, we were looking at it in Beau's point of view, so we understand, like, we get the understanding that he is trying to get to his mom's, It's not like how she's trying to frame it. But then she shows clips where, I'm not gonna lie, the way that they edited it, and then also how they showed that he would actively avoid his mom in situations where she seemed, sad or worried about him. Like, it almost makes it like, who is really telling the truth? Like, are we tripping and the mom is actually right? Like, Beau really doesn't love her, or like maybe Beau has this messed up relationship with her or anything like that. And then it doesn't help that at one point in the movie, Beau basically chokes out his mom. Like, I think she says something like she hates him, and he starts choking her, and he lets go before like he kills her, and it's almost, and she like faints, like from like she's so shocked that she faints, and it's almost like she was like, oh, like at first I thought she did die, but then when I was really thinking about it, like she wouldn't have been able to show up in that stadium where they were having the trial. And I guess it was more like she fainted out of shock that like Beau would actually try to kill her. And they set that up in the beginning of the movie where his therapist asks him like, do you sometimes wish your mom would be dead? And Beau says no. But then later in the film, he decides to choke her out. So it's almost like stuff like that where it's like, oh, so I know the way I've been explaining it will probably make it sound like, okay, well, obviously Beau is the more reliable narrator, and like his mom has just been manipulating him and stuff like that. But there is still things in Beau's perspective where you still have to question it, because in the film he is told by his mom for years that his dad is dead. You know, his dad died when they were conceiving Beau and stuff like that. So, you know, he just keeps saying that he wants to know the truth. And at the end of the film, when the mom reveals that she's still alive, he asks, you know, to know more about his father. So she traps him in the attic, and this is why I say you need context. Like, please watch the film before you listen to this podcast, because like I'm basically explaining things out of order. Like, I'm not trying to summarize the movie. I'm just trying to say all my thoughts. So she puts him in the attic, and this is the part where when I explain the movie to my friends, like they fucking lost this. His dad is a big ass penis monster with like sharp claws. Yeah, his dad is a big ass penis monster. And like he was screaming and like nut was squirting from the top of his head. Yo, mom, I know you listen to every podcast, but maybe this is the one where you need to turn it off. But like, yo, that was like crazy. Like I was just like, what the fuck? Like I was almost about to scream that in the theater. I was like, what the actual fuck is going on? Like this dude's dad is nothing but a penis. And as crazy as that sounds, that's why I say that sometimes Beau isn't the most reliable narrator, because you know in certain videos that I've seen from other people, they were saying that maybe that's like, you know, maybe that's kind of like, you know, what the word, like imagery, because Beau don't really know much about his dad, so essentially all you know him as is just a penis that made you. Like you don't know nothing about him, you don't know how he looks, so all he really is just a dick, just in order for you to be here. So in that context, it kind of makes sense. Like obviously this is coming from like other people that I watch videos from, cuz I really could not understand like why was his dad just a penis monster? Like why? And when people said it like that, like maybe it could be kind of like imagery that he really doesn't know nothing about his dad, and that to him he was just really, you know, that. Then it kind of makes sense. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But here's the other thing. I also recently seen a video where Ari Aster says that he doesn't like explaining anything about his films. Like, if people ask him questions about it, he really does not like to answer questions about the films. He really just wants people to take what they take from it. And he really wants, you know, um, he really wants just people to form their own opinions. And he really just, you know, and I can get that when your movie first comes out, like, because you guys know I want. Well, if you guys are new, you don't know, but for longtime fans of mine, I want to become a filmmaker. You know, I want people to take whatever they take away from my films. Like, obviously, there is themes that I want to express in my films, but I mostly want people to take away what I give them in my film, and I can get that, like when your movie first comes out, because like even when I used to make music, you know, when people heard my mixtape, they would ask me questions about like, oh, what was your inspiration for this song, or like, you know, who were you talking about in this song, and like why'd you make this choice in a song. And sometimes like when the project first comes out, I wouldn't want to answer it. Like, you know, I'm gonna be like, look, y'all take whatever you want out of it, and then I'll come back and explain it later. And that's what I feel like Ari Aster should do. Like maybe when it's in theaters, don't answer no questions. Let people get whatever they want out of it. But then when it hits, you know, streaming or DVD, or like maybe when it's like a year anniversary, like maybe you can finally answer all the questions that people have. So I can understand it in that aspect. But it sounds like he's not ever really going to answer questions about this movie at all, or not anytime soon at all. So like we're sitting here with all these interpretations, because I've been hearing a lot of interpretations. We're sitting here with all these interpretations, and we really don't understand shit. Like my main and only question is like, I get why I get a lot of the decisions that he made in this movie. I get, stuff that people don't like I said, the animated scene, like I get that, I appreciate that, I get the themes, I like what he was doing with the film, but my main question is who whose perspective is really right? Like, is his mom right and like the audience has been tripping? Is Beau right and like his mom is really tripping and like we were right to, sympathize with him and stuff like that? Or is it kind of like a mixture of both? Like, you know how they say like there's three sides of the story. There's his side, there's her side, and then there's the truth. Is there like some truth that's in between where Beau, he does love his mom, he does care for his mom, but there is a little bit of hatred there? Or maybe is there, and also there's his mom's side where she does love Beau, but she just doesn't know how to express it well, because as the film, shows us that she also did not have the best upbringing. So maybe she loves Beau, but she really just doesn't understand how to communicate that with him, and like they both just cannot like mesh, but they like love each other, but they just can't come to, really come together. Like, is there some type of truth in between? That's what I want to know. Like, matter of fact, that's the real question I want to know. Screw whose side is essentially right. I just want to know, is there a real in between? Because I do feel for both characters. Like, I actually felt for Beau in a lot of certain situations. And then also for Beau, I mean, and then for his mom, I'm like, I feel bad for her too, to a point where even when I first watched the movie for a little bit and they revealed like that she was still alive and she was revealing like that she was behind everything, I was actually sitting there like, I ain't gonna lie, like I feel bad for his mom. So like the movie got me so conflicted because like I don't know who to believe because I felt bad for both of them. And in the end, I will say in the end though, I actually didn't like Beau as a character, to be honest. And it's not because of his mom, but it's just because of, you know, his character. One thing that I cannot stand in any movie or show or anything like that is a passive main character. I hate a passive main character. I want main characters that move the story along. I hate main characters where stuff happens to them and then they are like, forced to go along with whatever happens. It's not like they're all actively making choices to keep the story going. Like I even said that when everybody was bitching about She-Hulk and, jumping to the MCU, like when everybody was bitching about She-Hulk, like a lot of the issues that people had with She-Hulk, I didn't have the same issues with it. My main issue was that the main character was very passive. Like every episode was, "Oh, we got this plan. You're coming along." And she just like, "Oh, okay, sure, I'll go with that." Like that's somewhat what Beau was like to me. Like there's a lot of situations, just like when the couple kept prolonging, him going to his mom. Like like I said, we're watching the movie in his point of view. So in his head, you can see that he wants to go to his mom, or at least we're supposed to perceive that he wants to go to his mom's, but they're holding him up and he's like, "Oh, okay, sure, I'll wait another day." Like, and it takes him so long to finally say, "No, I have to go now." Like I have to go. Like I hate characters like that. I can't stand passive characters. And that's all I felt like he ever was throughout most of this movie, was passive. And the only time he wasn't passive was literally when he got to his mom's house. Like when he met up with Elaine again, when they finally did the deed, when, you know, in that moment where he asked to see his dad, and then when he chokes out his mom, and then even at the end when he's arguing for himself in the trial, that's the Beau that I finally wanted to see throughout most of this movie. But here's the thing, too, and I know somebody in the comments is probably already typing this. Here's the thing, too. That's what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to be like that. And it kind of brings up something that me and my friends were talking about over the summer, because we were watching Bodies, 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 And as y'all know, if you've seen it, the movie is supposed to be a satire on my generation. And one of the characters, my friend found her really annoying. Like, she was really annoying. And I was telling him that that's kind of the point. Like, that's what they wanted you to do. Like, they wanted you to find her annoying because that's what her character, or that's, she's based on people that's like that in real life. And it brings up an interesting conversation where just because something is intended doesn't mean you have to like it. Like, yeah, they did a good job because obviously you felt what they wanted you to feel, but maybe they did too good of a job because he really did not like her ass. And honestly, I'm conflicted on whether like Ari Aster did a good job with that, because was I not supposed to like Beau for being passive? Like, they made it clear in the movie that he is passive. Like, they made that somewhat clear, but like, and they made it clear that like that's supposed to be the intention. But like, was I supposed to not like Beau? Because like, I don't really like him like that. Like, I don't hate his character, but like, I just don't like him like that. Like, even though I found a very common ground between him and his mom, I would still say that I side slightly more with the mom, and maybe that's just a judge on my character or something. But like, I side somewhat more with his mom just because I followed this journey with him, and I just don't like her passive ass son. Like, I don't like how she's been manipulating and controlling him, obviously, but like, I also don't like that this motherfucker is like so passive, and you have to push him to lengths just for him to finally do something for once. Like, that Beau that we had in the last hour of the movie, when he is at his mom's, from the very moment he steps into his mom's house to the very end of the movie, that is finally the Beau that I liked. The other 2 hours where he was on his journey and he was just like sitting around and just doing what other people offered or whatever, I didn't like that Beau. So yeah, I didn't really like Beau like that, but I still enjoyed the movie for the most part. Y'all know I always have my unpopular opinions. One of my unpopular opinions is that the ending didn't feel like a big middle finger to me. Cause like, some people felt like the ending was a middle finger, like, the trial going back and forth. Beau ultimately loses, and the boat explodes, and presumably he dies at the end of the movie. At least that's what we're meant to believe. See, that's another thing that makes me think, like, is this really reality or is this more manipulation from his mom? Because he, after he chokes out his mom and she faints, he goes to this lake where there's a boat. He gets on the boat, he just sails away, but then he sees a cave. He goes into the cave, and like I said, the cave is like a huge stadium where he is arguing his side. Like, he has a lawyer, his mom and her lawyer is on the other side, and they're basically both arguing their points of views. And in the end, Beau is like begging his mom for forgiveness, just like he's been doing the whole movie, and she doesn't forgive him. So the movie ends with his boat exploding in the middle of the stadium, and we gotta assume that he dies, and his mom and everybody else walks out of the stadium, and the end credits is literally us watching the boat in the water after it's blown up. And some people felt like, in a lot of reviews I saw, people were saying like, this is the biggest fuck you I've ever gotten from a director. Like, there's been so many people that's been saying that, but in my honest opinion, I didn't feel like that. Like, to me, it's still, I still felt like there was more to be desired. I would say I felt more empty, and maybe that's not a good thing, but like, I felt more empty than disrespected, because some people was making it sound like they were disrespected by Ari Aster for them doing, like, for him ending the movie like that. But I don't know. I didn't feel disrespected. Like, I didn't feel like it was a fuck you or anything like that. But I will say that I felt somewhat empty, and I felt bad for Beau. Like, I didn't think he did, like, even though I said I didn't like him for most of the movie, I didn't think he deserved to, die, if that's how we're supposed to, take it as. But like, I felt bad for the dude. I didn't think he needed to die, but like it was like the ending made me feel empty. It did make me want more. Like that's where I really started to question like, whose side is the real side. So I guess you could say the ending really just made me come up with that question because I felt so empty and I wanted more. But everybody else took it as that was just a middle finger from Ari Aster, like two middle fingers up to Ari Aster or whatever. So yeah. Overall, I think that's all the like real thoughts that I had about the movie. Like my main thing that I've been conflicting on is like what is reality and what isn't, whose side is right, is there like some type of in between, like that's the main thing I've been struggling with in this movie. So I think, like I said, I think the more I watch it, the more I'll come to an understanding with it. But as of right now, I would give this movie like a 6 or 7 out of 10, probably a 6.5 out of 10 right now. Like, in terms of Ari Aster films, this one is probably second under Midsummer. I hate Hereditary. I do not like Hereditary at all. Like, I know people hold it to this high regard of like new age horror, but like the movie is basically just a artsy version of Paranormal Activity. Like, I'm good. Like, I love Paranormal Activity. Maybe that's why maybe that's why I hate Hereditary, because I love Paranormal Activity. And the movie is basically just a artsy, more dramatic version of Paranormal Activity. Like, I'm good. I rather watch this than that and shit like that. Like, I just don't like Hereditary like that. I will say that objectively, it is a well-made film. Like, that's one thing I have never denied. Like, that's one thing I'll never deny about a film. Like, if I don't like it subjectively, I will say whether it's a movie objectively. Like, the acting is great. Ari Aster is a great director. The cinematography, all of that. Like, it was a very well made movie, but I just didn't like the movie at all. Though I will give credit where it's due. The final shot of Hereditary is like one of the best final shots I've ever seen in a film. So like that's what I mean. Like Hereditary is a movie I really don't like overall, but I will say that a lot of the pieces that was made to make the movie was really good. And a quick review for Midsommar, since I gave a quick review for Hereditary. I love Midsommar. Like, it's funny how I hated Hereditary, but I love Midsommar. I loved everything about it. All the same reasons that I said for Hereditary, but Midsommar was like, I also really liked a lot of its aspect about relationships and like going through breakups and stuff like that, especially since I was going through a breakup, or not that I was, but like it was a few months after a breakup that I was going through that movie came out, and I definitely felt those emotions. Like I didn't if you've seen the movie, obviously I didn't feel like doing the same thing that happened, but like I felt a lot of those emotions. It really hit. So yeah, Midsummer was definitely one that I like. I will say Beau Is Afraid is in between, and I'm gonna tell y'all the same thing that I told my friends. So after I saw the movie, I called my brother. One of my other friends called me afterwards, and I told them both the same thing. I even got on the game with my friend Josh, and I told him the same thing. Since I'm an upcoming filmmaker, if I ever come up with a film idea like this, like if I ever come up with a film idea like Beau Is Afraid, I told them to slap the shit out of me or put me in check, because this movie, there is so much crazy shit happening. And maybe I'm just too used to Ari Aster, because like the first 2 hours didn't really bother me like that. It was really everything in the last hour where we get to the mom's house, you find out she's controlling everything, the big penis monster, all that. That's where my mind was really like, all right, like this dude needs some fucking help. Like Ari Aster, I do not understand you, bruh. Like Midsummer, he made that because he was going through a breakup. I'm just like, yo, after seeing Hereditary and Midsummer, I don't ever want you to go through anything in life again. But the funny thing is, I just recently found out that he has a happy life. Like, his family life is pretty good. So I'm like, what the hell is... Like, okay, there's got to be something the fuck wrong with you. Like maybe there's aspects that you made about your films that Ari Aster, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you need some goddamn help, all right? You need some goddamn help. And I'll say this. I said this to my friend Josh. Even though I like Beau Is Afraid, I don't ever want him to make another movie like this again. Cuz I really do believe in creative freedom, but I also believe that you do also need some type of limit. Like Beau Is Afraid is one of those movies where I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna let you get this one off, but if you think you're gonna make another movie like this again, now you bugging the fuck out. Like that's where I like Beau Is Afraid is where I draw the line. Like I like this movie, but I don't want you thinking that you're about to like do a whole career of this. Big budget movies where nobody really gives you any limitations and you can do whatever you want. Like Beau Is Afraid, this is my limit for you, Ari Aster. Like, do not think that you're gonna make another film like this again, and that I'm gonna stick around as a fan. And I know this is just me talking, but like, don't think you're ever gonna make another movie like this in my book, and think that I'm still gonna be a fan of you. Cause like this movie, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's good. But it's like it's the type of good where it's like, all right, you played around a little bit, you did your experimentation. Don't ever do this again. So that's all I gotta say about Beau Is Afraid. Like, this is one of those movies where I really hope he doesn't do this again. Like, just leave it alone. Just keep it pushing. Like, you did this movie. Now go back to making more. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but like more regular films like Midsummer and Hereditary. Like, go back to that because like Beau Is Afraid is good for the one time, but like not for more than one time. No, so that's pretty much the whole episode. Like I told y'all, I could make a whole episode about this. If I had another friend that watched Beau Is Afraid that I could, talk about this with, I bet you we could make like a 2 hour episode. Cause like this movie was like really bananas. Like it was really fucking crazy. So yeah. Um Final things I'd like to say. Um Ari Aster, obviously, I know you must not be listening to this, but if you are listening to this and if you made it this far, since you've already kind of started something making Beau, your original short film, into a full length feature, I would like to suggest the Strange Things About the Johnsons being your next film. I would like for that to be your next film. If you've seen the Strange Things About the Johnsons, you know. And I want you to keep the black cast like you did. I know he got into some controversy because like some people didn't like that he used the black cast for Strange Things About the Johnsons, but no, keep the black cast, make that into a full length feature because I want it. Trust me, I want it. So yeah, if you guys want Ari Aster to make Strange Things About the Johnson into a full length film, put that in the comments, please. If you're on social media, I don't know, somebody start a petition so we can make this his next full length film. Just as long as he doesn't do like no 3 hour, all off the wall shit like he did with Beau Is Afraid, but like I would want a full length feature of the Strange Things About the Johnsons. If you guys have not watched it, except for Mom, because I know you're listening, you probably ignored my warnings and still listening right now. If you guys have not seen Strange Things About the Johnson, go search that up on YouTube. I don't know if they took it down because I know they took down Beau, but like go look it up, go watch it. It is gonna be one of the weirdest freaking movies you have ever seen. But yeah, and the other thing is, of course, since I'm talking about an A24 movie, I guess I should say that I decided to start my A24 series first. I will get started on that very soon. And like I said, I have to sit down and watch all those A24 movies. So I don't know how long it's going to take, but just know that you guys will be getting that video and I'll be working hard on it. Like, that's a video where I don't have to put in all the effort in the world. Like, majority of my job with that video is really just sitting down and watching the films. So, of course, I'll try to get that done as quick as I can. And I'm gonna shoot for like a summer release date for that video. So yeah, anybody that's still listening, I thank you guys for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, especially if you've seen Beau Is Afraid. Like I said at the beginning, this is an open discussion podcast. I like to know what other people's thoughts are, especially on this movie. If there are things that I said in here that you guys disagree with, agree with, or if there's something you can add context to, do you guys have an answer for what I said about whose side is right? So, like, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this with other people. Let's build a discussion about Beau Is Afraid. If you're listening to this on streaming, make sure you follow the podcast. Show some love to your boy. No matter what platform you're on, make sure you show love to your boy, because, like, I'm trying to run this podcast up. I'm trying to do what I can for y'all. So, yeah. With all that being said, Tevin Jameer signing out. See you on the next one.